Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. You guys are in for a treat. 3 hours of R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. We are going old school tonight on the show. And we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some real fun tonight. But first, got to say hello to each and every one of you. We do, including Kitty Cattywack in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, necessary dialogue, taking home the bronze medal tonight. And let's kick off the rest of the roll call, shall we? Road Flare, how you doing? Nice to see you. Mel WD-40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show because Keith will not come on this show unless Mel has lubed up Keith's pork chops. The sideburns are starting to glisten. You know it's going to be a good show. Thank you, Mel, for taking care of us. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot as well. Jerry Lahane is here. Jerry Lahane will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Robert Lamoth, Shogun, Frankie B, nice to see you all. Karen in the Woo Train, how are you, my friend? As we continue on with our roll call, Kinsley, I can't see that last part. Kinsley, welcome to SOR chat. How you doing? Gear Jammers, how you doing, my friend? Tim Mothman and his goatee, both in the chat room tonight. Shane Gord, good to see you as we scroll on down. And we say hello next to the Ferret. Stephanie Ketty Blankenship, how are you? Chucky Danger, what's going on? And Thunderhead, Bulletia, my man. And number 15 in your program tonight, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Integrationing, how are you? And the Ferret again, Digi Addict, how you doing? Jaquetta, thanks for coming on in. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. There she is, Mama Catherine. Mwah. I love you, my dear. Hope you had a great day. I know you're going to have a great weekend. So sit back and enjoy this show tonight, and we'll kick off your weekend just perfectly. How about that? I love you, my dear. Hope you're having a great night. Thank you for coming on in. Moving on down, D. Henderson, how are you? And who is next? Who is next here? It's Dave Rice. Dave Rice will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Chris Irvin, how you doing? Mike Arrington, thanks for coming on in. Good morning, Skip to Malou. Hi there, Terry Mills. Lex Diaz, it's always good to see you early. Super Crazy, how you doing tonight? Magnus, nice to see you. Undead Jed, JSEO, and GovBuster, thank you for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call here, who is next? Stargazer, how you doing, my friend? Walter Kochabinski, how are you? And Spiraling, nice to have you here. Did I miss anybody yet? No, I don't think so. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're in for a good evening tonight. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection for 3 long hours of high quality woo. We're in roll call on our YouTube side right now. Morwick, how you doing? Nice to see you. And let's see, we got about 40 seconds left. I want to remind all of you to get your tickets for Caribou Con. Go to cariboucon.com. We want to see you all right here in the heart of British Columbia, September 18th through 20th. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Get yourself some. We got some new gear up there as well. Baby Yaga, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for coming on in. And we're like 10 seconds away. 10 seconds. Throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears to what's really happening now. We're together. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. We want to see you all at Caribou Con September 18th through 20th, right here in the heart of British Columbia. Get your tickets at cariboucon.com today. It may be weird, it may be strange, but it's a life he lives. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection going 3 full hours tonight. We're going to get Swamp Dweller in to kick off hour number 3 as well, but this is going to be an amazing show. Why? Because Keith can deliver on anything regarding UFOs, alien contact, and so much more. So let's get right to it. He is one of the good guys in this show. Been doing this show for well over 10 years, each and every month. Why do we keep bringing him on? Because he is our most requested guest. Our Keith Andrews, if you've never heard him, is a spiritual guide, author, and media personality whose work explores consciousness, metaphysics, ET encounters, and personal transformation. As the founder and CEO of Inner Voice Enterprises, he has spent years helping individuals discover greatest purpose and clarity by combining spiritual insight and practical life guidance. Through podcasts, books, interviews, and online teachings, Keith encourages people to expand their awareness while examining the deeper connections between humanity, energy, and the universe. He is best known around these parts as the man for ET Connection. And let's bring him on in. Our Keith Andrews, your great-looking sideburns. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you
Not
back
bad at all, Dave.
on radio.
Glad to be here.
For people who may be tuning into you for the first time, this is a life that you never chose. But on the flip side, it's the life you got. You got to make what's best. You've been an ET contactee literally since childhood and infancy, and now you help counsel those who are having their own ET questions. What's it like being a counselor to something that most people on this planet don't want to either think exists or don't believe exists?
Well, I think the best way of putting it is unique. I've not met anybody that covers that in that wide of a field at any point. And we gotta be clear. I am no better than anybody else. I've just got a different outlook on life.
And that outlook is alien contact.
Pretty much. I mean, I knew about the off-worlders before I knew about before I knew about people.
It sounds hard to believe.
Well, the fact of the matter is, the day I was born, I ended up in an incubator. I know my mom and dad were there, but I ended up in an incubator. And, well, long story short, I was not impressed, so I left. Ran into the Council of 12 and a whole whack of off-worlders all at the same time. And then found out I also talked to the dead. That took a while to get used to.
You just don't talk to ETs. You also talk to spirits. You help guide people through psychic readings and intuitive readings and everything like that. What's the difference between doing a psychic or intuitive reading and talking to ETs?
I usually put cards on the deck to confuse the humans. Quite seriously, the biggest misnomer there is that tarot cards or regular playing cards or whatever are where the ability is. I just don't bother using them when I'm dealing with most off-worlders. For me, that's pretty much the biggest difference.
Okay, so what is the difference then between communicating with spirits and ghosts and ETs then?
ETs tend to be more corporeal in nature. Spirits and ghosts will walk out through the wall or in through it. In all fairness, think of it this way: a spirit or a ghost is like a pedestrian without a car. If you're driving around in your truck, you get out of your truck and go wandering around the mall. It's basically the same thing. You can go more places without the car. I know that comes across just about nonchalant, but that's what it is.
Keith, explain to us why so many people, in your opinion, have such a hard time believing that alien life is here on Earth right now.
That's the easy part. Most parents in any nation around the world, most parents will tell their child up until they're about 4, maybe 5 years old, "You've got a wonderful imagination, son or daughter or whatever. Carry on," and they embrace it. But about the time they hit 4 or 5 years old, all of a sudden that whole thing changes to, "Son, you've got a wonderful imagination. Now it's time to grow up and face reality." ETs, ghosts, imaginary friends, the imagination is trained out of us from about the age 4, maybe 5 years old. So by the time you get to be an adult, most people have bought into it.
Okay.
Ultimately, that's where the problem comes in.
When you look at all of the contact you've had over the years, has it gone like a roller coaster, had its ups and downs with contact, or has it always been steady for you?
It's been pretty steady. I ended up with a few months off. Anytime I drop dead, they tend to give me a few months off to get my body working again. I know that sounds really like a lunatic from an outside standpoint.
But it happens to you.
It does. I mean, look what happened. Look what happened 6 weeks after I got married.
How do you even sleep at night with... Well, I understand that, but I'm asking a metaphorical question here. How do you even sleep at night knowing that at any time you could be awakened by spirits, taken by aliens, And I know for me, when I have been taken in the past, the next day I feel like I have been absolutely hungover and like I was having a real party time all night long. My body is sore. I'm groggy. I'm tired. I could, my eyes are hazy. I can barely talk properly. Honestly, it's like a hangover. Like you went too many rounds with tequila and tequila won.
Does tequila ever lose?
Rarely. Rarely.
But no, in all fairness, Dave, I understand what you're getting at. But when it happens so frequently, you just get used to it. This is one of the reasons, and this has been verified by a number of people. I can actually be asleep. When I go to bed, I can literally be asleep before my head hits the pillow. Like that's how quick I will go from conscious to asleep. And it's pretty much the same speed waking up. To be frank, going through a heart attack is more stressful to me than getting taken.
Okay. Recently, it was said by a U.S. government official, Eric Burleson, that he was reading a file about this black craft and it had a real evil sense to it. I know there's bad ETs out there, but are some of them evil? Are they tied to the devil themselves?
Well, we'll start with the last part. No. There are individuals that are absolutely evil. Evil being they put their needs first over everybody else's. But we are talking individuals. We are not talking about species. Like there are standard traits of species, right? But none of them are truly evil.
So, what are the bad ETs then?
I find them the ones that are trying to kill you when they meet you. These are usually not a good sign. For me, the Talon are people I don't really get along with all that well. Something to do with they've been trying to figure out how my system works in a very volatile fashion since I was a toddler.
What is the difference between being taken and having an out-of-body experience or astral traveling?
If you're astral traveling, number one, your physical body won't go through the ringer. Your mind will, but your physical body won't feel like it's run 100 miles. That's the biggest difference. Because when the spirit is taken, and this does happen, we actually had it happen years ago at the Experiencer Speak conference on the East Coast, where somebody tried taking somebody via spiritual extraction. And I'll tell you, it does leave the person way more emotionally distraught than a physical abduction does. Of course, you got to remember, with the physical abduction, they are administering different types of medication and/or frequency therapy to help stabilize or help minimize the amount of damage you go through.
How do they get you? How do they take you through a wall? How do they take you through a window?
Oh, that's easy. Subquantum and quantum molecular modification. They literally slip your molecules between the molecules of the wall. Modified vibratory rate.
Still strange to me.
I won't
Still
argue
strange.
that. Think of it this way. If you're trying to move two pieces of matter through each other, if you vibrate one a little off cycle, it'll slide between the other one. Net result, we had the Philadelphia experiment decades back. Ultimately, that's what they were doing.
Okay. A lot of people who get taken, and this has happened to myself, we're in a dream state, we're having a dream, okay, and the dream is always, something weird. You're in a weird place, weird location, and all of a sudden you get that gravitational pull, like gravity's grabbing a hold of you and sucking you backwards into wherever or whoever's taking you. How does that happen, and what is that gravitational pull?
That is resyncing with your world. That is literally what it boils down to. Because as you get moved back into the right vibratory rate to mesh with this world, you suddenly start feeling the gravity, feeling the weight, and feeling the different energies passing through you on the way by.
And then I wake up in my bed.
Yeah. I've talked to people that have waken up, they've been taken, and they've gone through what you went through or something similar. They show up in the wrong clothing, or they show up with the clothing on backwards. Thankfully, I've not heard of somebody having the bottoms on the top and the tops on the bottom.
So, with that gravitational pull, when you are sucked into whatever you're being sucked into, like a giant vacuum is coming to get you.
Yeah.
It almost feels like G forces, like when you're on an airplane.
Ultimately,
Okay.
that would make sense.
What are you being sucked into a ship? Are you being sucked into where the ETs are currently settled in? They're standing, and you're going back to them so they can take you back. How does it work?
Honestly, that depends on which species is picking you up. If you're being picked up by the reticulans, 9 times out of 10, they're popping you straight on deck. They're kind of popping you straight into their ship. Same as if it's the consortium itself that is sanctioned pickup. If you're looking at the tail on, Lord knows where you're going to start off. Because they will take you wherever they can and do whatever they will. There is a lot that I don't like about them.
Okay. I got to get you to turn your speakers down a little bit, Keith. We're having a little bit of feedback on your end.
If I had any idea how, I would.
Oh, we'll deal with that during the break. Deal with that during the break here. We got 6 minutes to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection hanging on out with us on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Keith joins us each and every month near the beginning to talk about all things extraterrestrial contact. Keith, one of the other things that I always wonder about when you're being taken, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this, even the government officials have, as they discuss the disclosure movement, which I know you don't really pay any attention to, and I'm glad you don't, because it's getting kind of boring, to be blunt. But I will say this. A lot of them talk about, seeing an orb outside their bedroom window, being sucked into that orb. And when they get into that orb that may look a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet long and wide, when they get inside, it opens up to about the size of a football stadium. How does that happen?
That's because the orb is a physical extension of a much bigger ship, and it's an almost instantaneous transposition from. It's an almost instantaneous transposition from that point. What the heck was that? From that orb to the ship, to the actual ship that's doing it. If you think about it this way, you don't really, if you're bringing an aircraft carrier in, you don't want to pull the aircraft carrier up to the dock. It's the same sort of a deal. So they send a jump pod down.
What happens when you're in that jump pod?
Well, gamers would take a look at it as in that jump pod, you're literally stepping through it. The jump pod itself really boils down to a gateway. It's kind of like walking through a door or sliding through a door, and there is no space between that pod and the ship itself. Do you remember a story when you were growing up, A Wrinkle in Time?
Which one again?
A Wrinkle in Time. It
I
talks
remember
about
hearing about
folding
it.
space. Of course, you're a little younger than I am. They may not have used it. I read about it in like we read it in kindergarten. But ultimately, it boils down to this. Do it this way. Hopefully you can see this.
Well, remember, we are on the radio, Keith.
Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point.
The radio audience can't see what you're holding up.
Sorry, I was going to hold up a sheet of paper. Okay. Basically, what you're doing with that ship is the sheet of paper, if you put your hole on one end of it, fold it over. Okay, now you fold it in half. You punch a hole through the paper. There's a hole in both sides. The jump from the ship to that other side is literally like walking through a doorway. So there is no functional space between it. Hopefully that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. To maybe you. Not me.
Yeah, that's something that Kira keeps having to remind me. To me, this is normal. To everybody else, probably not.
So, Keith, as we got about 2 minutes to go here, before we go to break at the bottom of the hour, when you take this jump through the gravitational pull, or you get sucked into one of these orbs that happens to be attached to a giant ship out there in the omniverse somewhere, what happens to your body? I know there's got to be something that resonates with the human body that doesn't sit well.
Many people end up going through, just like the astronauts, many people go through a potassium crash. Okay. A potassium crash, some people go through a calcium collapse. Right. But it's because the transition where you're being, if you will, molecularly remodulated, it does play havoc with the physical body. Now, of course, those being taken in astral form don't suffer that. They just get confused, as you already know the hard way.
Okay. So when that happens, is there any side effects people should look for on their body?
From what I've seen, the number of people that are being taken, the ratio is very small of the ones that actually get an implant. Okay. And the most common implant that seems to pop up is three dots in a triangular formation, in an equilateral triangle formation, with a solid bar below two of them. But physically, there's not a lot of. It depends again. There are so many variations on what you might be going through. Most of the time, like there's been misconceptions and misinterpretations all over the place.
Keith, hold that thought. Hold that thought. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Our Keith Andrews, the ET Connection, continues with more audience questions when we return. right. Demi Bum, welcome to SOR Chat. Who else has joined us here? TK, nice to see you. Rob today, they did 4 guitars and 1 event. Oh,
And
man.
Sling got ripped
That
off big time.
absolutely sucks, dude. That sucks.
That's a slightly different way of putting it, but it's not repeatable on the radio here. You know,
Yeah. Paramarv, great job tonight, by the way. I was watching that. Great job. Ghost Fixter, how are you? We're going to get to meet Paramarv at CaribouCon. He's coming up. He is coming up.
Nice. How far is he actually coming up from?
Michigan.
Gee, that's a hop and jump.
That is a hop and a jump, but he wants to make it. I'm excited. When I see Paramarv, I'm probably going to do the wave. And I just don't do the wave for anybody or anything. Keith, your answers are short tonight.
I can drag it out. That's easy.
We got 3 hours, man. We're going to be out of questions. At this rate, we're going to be out of questions by 9:42.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll cure that problem.
Aggravated. How you doing? Great question, Shogun. We'll get to that.
Yeah, Farrah's not kidding there.
Evan Walters, you're pissing me off because you're 32 minutes late. Jaquetta, you nailed it right on the head. Gorgeous Larry is here, everybody. Gorgeous Larry. Take a bow, Gorgeous Larry. Take a bow. All right, Keith, we got about 2 minutes.
Okay. No.
Are you going to walk for Ogopogo?
Am I going to?
You're going to go walk and look for Ogopogo?
No, I already saw him once about 40 years ago. And I will tell you this, if they're walking looking for Ogopogo, they could have a bit of a problem. He's stuck in the water.
Yeah.
I did see him way back in the mid-'80s.
What'd you see?
Well, ultimately, when I first looked at it, I didn't think it was what it was. And then the head came out of the water, and it must have come a good 10 feet out of the water. The body was still in the water. You know, you see the ridge back, and of course, the fins. If you've ever seen a whale, those are small fins on a whale compared to what this thing has.
Wow.
No.
DG, how you doing? Nice to see you. 1 second, Keith.
Yeah.
And Honest Content, how you doing? Got about 25 seconds. Still waiting for our first super chatter of the night. if anybody wants to. You don't. I don't really care. 16 seconds. Hi, Nikki in Seattle. All right, 5 seconds, Keith.
Yep.
No banging your desk, okay?
I will do my best.
Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for choosing to hang out with us as we talk with our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection coming at us from Kelowna, British Columbia, where we always broadcast each and every night right here on 1150 AM Talk Radio in Kelowna. And if you've never been to Kelowna, I'm telling you right now, it is one of the greatest gems in North America. It is beautiful. It has a sea monster called the Ogopogo in Okanagan Lake. And Keith, a number of years ago, going back about 4 decades, you actually had a sighting of the old Ogopogo.
I did so.
What was that like?
It was remarkable. I was actually driving down the hill towards the floating bridge at the time, and I saw this thing come out of the water. Well, its head came out of the water. And giving an estimate of 10 feet for the neck coming out, that would have put the body at least 40 feet long. And I'll tell you, if you've ever seen the flippers on a whale, like on just a standard, I'm talking a sperm whale, not the blue whale, but just a normal sperm whale. If you've ever seen the flippers on one of those are small compared to what I saw.
My goodness.
It brought traffic to an interesting hold. People didn't stop, but they slowed right down. But the thing is, it was an image that I will never forget. And it did tell me when I saw that. In my opinion, now, I was a budding paleontologist when I was in kindergarten. And I swear the thing is likely a long-necked plesiosaur. Now, I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but they were alive about 120 million years ago. But from what I discovered after that sighting, apparently there's a whole underground network of lakes, of underground lakes, that literally link Okanagan Lake to the Pacific Ocean. Which is why the thing is seen sometimes and sometimes is missed altogether.
All I'm saying is I would absolutely hate, and this is my nightmare. For people who don't know, when Okanagan Lake ends in Penticton, British Columbia, there is a creek that flows through right to Skaha Lake. And every year, as soon as the water gets warm and the temperatures warm up, people will take this 2-hour tube ride. You can either bring your own tubes or rent tubes and take this 2-3 hour tube ride down the creek until you get to the stairs before you get to Skaha Lake. And yet Ogopogo has been seen in Skaha Lake. And what scares the daylights out of me, Keith, is thinking I would really like to do that tube ride. I would. But imagine riding that tube ride and all of a sudden you look below the surface and it isn't that deep, but you see the Ogopogo swimming underneath you to head over to Skaha or towards Okanagan Lake. That would scare the daylights out of me, man. And I don't know if I could handle that.
Well, I gotta admit now, I've never been down the sky down that tube run. You know, but that channel between Skaha and Okanagan must be pretty deep.
I don't think the channel is. I'll even look it up here. How deep is the channel between Okanagan Lake and Skaha Lake? It gets at the deepest points about a meter, so about 3.5 feet, 3.25 feet deep.
Well, then we can safely say that it ain't going to come down the channel.
It might. You never know. And I'm not taking that chance, man. I am not taking that chance.
I'm just looking at the sheer mass of it. I mean, it could go down the channel, but there would be no question of what it was because it would have to climb along, much like a mud skipper, on top of the channel. Now, that said, it would not be a shock to find out that Baby Ogopogos went down that channel and then grew up in Skaha. Because let's face it, they are not born that size.
Well,
the one thing I have noticed with it, like my older brother calculated it. He calculated out and figured for a stable population of any species, you would have to have a minimum of 200 mated pairs. Okay. Now, of course, we have a problem here. Dinosaurs lived a lot longer, assuming they weren't eaten, than what most of the animals today do.
Well, I am not taking that chance.
Well, I don't blame you there.
I am too chicken. I am too chicken to do that.
This
And
is
I'm
kind of
not
why
afraid.
it's the same idea why I won't go out hiking. Not because I'm worried about Ogopogo, but it's almost a guarantee I'll get lost.
And here I thought it would have been for the rattlesnakes up there.
Oh no, they leave you alone as long as you know what you're dealing with.
Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection hanging on out with us. Keith, let's get to another question here.
Sure, fire away.
When you were taken by ETs, do you return having lost time? Do your family and friends notice your absence?
Number one, do I return having lost time? Because of the fact I literally cannot track time at all, I don't notice. You know, if it happens, you know, if I get taken, like especially since I've gotten married, they literally will leave a simulacrum behind. Okay, a simulacrum, for those that don't know what it is they replace me at the if they're taking me physically, they'll replace me with if you will a mannequin, breathing the whole 9 yards. But I'm dead to the world when I sleep anyway. You know, so the odds are that missing me is not likely. And of course, I spend a lot of time, most of the time I go, I'm locked up in my room already. And fortunately, my son has been trained since he was a child. You don't come flying through the door without knocking. Which does mean sometimes the transition back can be rather instant and a little disconcerting. I.e., somebody knocks on the door and I find myself back on the bed. Like, okay, well, that was rough. You know, but I could not tell you if I lose time. I did in one case. I was taken with another person, and we know that we lost time because the clocks on the phone on the car shifted by 20 minutes. That was an interesting trip. That actually happened on the trip where I told a leading military attaché of the Sabbatian Empire that if he was too much of a coward to go after his own people, then I would. Don't call a Strazazian a coward. This does not go over well. But as you know, Dave, subtlety is not my strong suit.
Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection continuing here on Spaced Out Radio. Next question that we have comes from Andromedan. Keith, what's your opinion on the Draconians and their empires?
Well, that kind of begs the question of which set. Okay, because the Sarkon, which are the biggest, they had the biggest empire. They, by their own admission, expanded too fast and had to cut three other, what evolved into three other species: the Tormenon, the Strazazian, and the Kamalian. All got left out in the boonies when the Sarkon pulled the plug. Now they've got an extremely organized empire, but even by their definition, they expanded too fast and couldn't support the outer reaches. So they spent a few of their years getting things organized so that the outlying communities had the stuff to survive with. You know, it wasn't a case of, oh, we expand too fast, cut them off and pray they live. They actually took the time to ensure their outreaches were actually capable of surviving. But the net result was three very similar species with very similar upbringings. Well, four really, but with three totally different philosophies of life. You know,
What are those philosophies?
Well, we take the Strazazian. They are born knowing what honor, respect, and aid is. Okay. You take the Kamalians. They are born looking to dominate whatever they can. Okay. Not exactly the most unified race. And when you look at the Tormenon, the Kamalian go to dominate. Tormenon are, for lack of a better term, they are unmitigated mercenaries. They will do whatever they have to get ahead. And if that means selling their kids, they're right up there for it. You know, all four of the species, the Sarkon included, all four of them dispose of their deceased, given that the deceased die by accident, by conflict, or by old age. They all get disposed of in the same fashion. They don't bury them. They simply eat them. Okay. If the individual dies of an illness, they get tossed into a fusion reactor. Okay, or the equivalent thereof. They get transferred into literally energy. But they won't eat them if they're already diseased.
That doesn't sound pleasant, Keith.
It's worse to watch. Thankfully, they never asked me to eat. You know, I like my meat rare, but that's a little on the cold side.
Very true. Very true. Let's get to another question, Keith.
Sure.
Let us go next to Paramarv here. What is the strangest situation you found yourself in after coming back from an abduction? Waking up in the wrong location or in somebody else's clothes?
Nope. Waking up feeling like my arm had been cut off and reattached. Twice in a row. And I do mean that literally. I remember waking up and it felt like my arm had been sheared off at just below the elbow. And then reattached. There's no scar, there's no marks to it. But the odd part was, after the second run, I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I had never been able to touch my right shoulder with my right hand. I'd never been able to do it my entire life. Right. And on this day in question, on the second return, I got itchy like everybody does, and I actually scratched my right shoulder with my right arm. And I stopped with my hand on my right arm, on my right shoulder, and I looked at it, and I looked at my girlfriend, and I went, "What, pray tell, is that?" Right. I said, I've never been able to feel my right shoulder with my right arm, but it literally felt as though it had been cut off and reattached. That was when my girlfriend looked at me and she goes, "Well, you got taken so often." I told him I just had an argument with him the one day and said, "Look, if you're going to keep taking him and getting his help, can you at least repair the arm?" Well, next thing I know, my arm's working. Now I can't get it over to where it used to be, so I can't even show people what it used to do. Mind you, I'm not unhappy by that. But I think that ranks up to being pretty much one of the weirdest setups I had. I've had a few where I got absolutely, even for me, I got absolutely off kilter when I got taken. Or more to the point when I returned.
All right, let's go to another question here, Keith. Let's go over to Lone Wanderer. Is scrying a tool from aliens, or is it just witchcraft? Is there any good time of say to scry?
I definitely recommend scrying when you're awake. Other than that, in all fairness, number one, scrying is something that humans developed. Now, other species have developed, but scrying as humans use it is something that was developed by humans way back before modern religion came into play. And it didn't always use a crystal ball. It originally started by literally taking, and this is how I started doing it. You take your hands, put them fingers together, and create an energy ball in your hand. That's how scrying started. Then it evolved into using reflective pools, such as in a puddle or a chalice, that sort of thing. Eventually, people decided to start making crystal balls. And yes, I've got one over there. But scrying itself is something as we know scrying, is something humans developed a long time ago. And rest assured, you don't have to be a witch to do it. In my entire life, I've only run into 9 people that could actually scry.
Keith, explain what scrying is so people understand.
Give me 5 seconds because I'm literally going to shit. We got a radio. Scrying literally boils down to looking into a modified energy field to take a look at events as they are unfolding. More often than not, there's a time delay, so you can look back through the temporal field to see what happened, what brought about a problem, or what brought about events. So you can look back, see what went down. You can't change anything, but you can certainly look back and see what went down. This can be used for looking into your own past, as in accessing memories that you've forgotten, that you've buried. The memories are there. And in all fairness, it's not really forgetting them so much as losing track of where they are. But scrying itself, you literally concentrate inside whatever it is you're using, whether this is an energy field created between your hands, a pool of water or a bucket of water, or a crystal ball. All of them work the same way. Okay, I know some people that will utilize a mirror to do it. There are those that work with candles, and they literally watch the candle flame and then focus through the inside of the flame to get images. Depending on the scryer, sometimes you can get a real clear picture. Sometimes it's just shadow. It depends on a lot of variables. But it is definitively something that was developed by humans. It wasn't even called witchcraft to start with. It wasn't even looked at that way. It was just something that the wise men did. Okay, that the elders in the tribes would do. Okay, but it takes a lot of mental discipline to focus beyond what is right in front of your eyes and look beyond that portal, beyond that space point.
Next question, Keith, from Jaquetta. Did you ever put back or get put back into another realm?
Oh, God, yeah. And that's been fun. That's how I actually found out about the location of what I call Hollow Earth. See, there's 3 stages in most planets. You've got the surface, you've got what is called Hollow Earth, and you've got Inner Earth. And rest assured, you don't want to go to Inner Earth if you're not from there. It's just a bad place to go. It's not an evil place. But I'm thinking most humans don't deal with magma and fireballs well.
No, I don't think so. It's not like making snowballs here.
No. Well, it's kind of like making snowballs here, just with a lot warmer water.
Yeah, you need a definite pair of wet gloves on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely would. Otherwise, you might be in some trouble. You just might. All right, next question, Keith, is we got 2.5 minutes. Do advanced ET civilizations travel back and forth to each other's planets for business, tourism, politics, etc., like in Star Trek?
Short answer would be yes. There is an entire network of wormholes that are used. Okay, and bear in mind there's a very big difference between black holes and a wormhole. A wormhole is literally a hole through space, not through time. Okay, but it does cut through space. Where they make so much shortening of the travel time is they do a beeline between where they are and where they're going with no consideration of what planets or stars are in between them. Because they drop out of molecular sync with everything on the way. Net result, they can get there safe. Black holes are another problem. And you don't want to travel by a black hole. Odds are you won't live through it. But yes, they travel regularly between civilizations. There are 2 sets of laws out there. In a given empire, you have to follow the laws of the empire. When you're in between empires, between one species world and another, you follow the laws of the consortium. And rest assured, those laws apply to every species. There is no, I've got more money, so it's a different law. They have no tolerance for that at all. And many species have been, shall we say, excommunicated. In all fairness, they were terminated because they wouldn't pay attention.
Could be. Keith, we got about 20 seconds to go here before we have to get ready for our break at the bottom of the hour. We love it when our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection is on Spaced Out Radio. And when we return after the break, we're going to continue with audience questions because the audience on our YouTube side is asking some great ones tonight. If you ever want to participate on our YouTube side, all you got to do is go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, or on X, message us at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, or you can watch the live feed right there. Post your questions in there. We get going each and every night, Monday through Friday, and we love being here for your nightly entertainment. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in. We'll be back for hour 2. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Keith, we're going to play a video here in a quick second. Quickly here. Don't forget to put your questions in capital letters. Alien Fields, how you doing? Nice to see you. Aggravated, thank you for the question. I got it. And we're going to play a video.
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit cariboucon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. Jump into the live chat during the broadcast and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
with 5 explorable Gold Rush-era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten. The 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of Gold Rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in as we are into hour number 2 with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. And we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Macropodine. Macropodine is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. We're blessed to have him right to the end of the show tonight. He is going the distance. It's rare that we do that, but with Keith, it's so much fun. And Keith, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Not a problem. Glad to be here.
We're glad you're here too. You ready for more questions?
Forward to the trip. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And let's go here to Lone Wanderer. What tips do you have to wake up after being pulled deep into the astral projection? If I'm really in tune, I am so groggy afterwards.
There's a real simple trick for it. If you end up in that end and you wake up really groggy, before you try and walk, unless you absolutely have to, sit on the edge of the bed, put your feet flat on the floor, and start literally curling your toes, essentially dragging your feet forward, not trying to walk that way. You can do that. You can also do it if you're not comfortable sitting up at that point. You can also lay there in bed and just take the blankets and crunch them up in your hands. Make your small limbs work. It'll get the signal going again and wake the brain up. But those are the two easiest ones that are, shall we say, not complicated.
Okay, so I usually call that the hangover from the next day because that's what it feels like, is like a giant hangover. And so, I mean, since you don't know what's going to happen, should you have electrolytes or some sort of like power drink to go along with it? Because water doesn't seem to help.
Water won't help, and yeah, it's the electrolytes that if you are into that sort of thing, absolutely, if you've got some handy, they will help stabilize things when you get back. But if you don't usually drink them, trying to keep them around on the off chance you may be abducted is not practical. I find myself, a lot of people, because coffee is such a good thing, is such a common thing, and is non-alcoholic, by the way, that's a good way to help ground yourself as well. The thing you really have to make sure you avoid is don't turn to any form of alcohol as a way of resetting yourself. It does not work well. In all fairness, it likely will exacerbate the problem.
All right, let's go to the next one here, my friend. Do EBEs have names that they call themselves? If so, what are they?
I'm going to have to ask a really bizarre question, Dave. What, pray tell, is an EBE?
Aliens.
Oh, okay. That answered that in a hurry. And the short answer is yes, they do. The problem is I'm going to have a very difficult time trying to explain what a harmonic crossover to a harmonic name is going to sound like. Understand, if we go back in time, humans, if I recall my history correctly, the Japanese used to call their island Nippon. Okay, but they were human, so we can pronounce it. When you're starting to look at what off-worlders call themselves, understand, when we're talking reptilians, there are at least a dozen different species, and they speak in growls, clicks, and snarls. That's what their language is. Okay, the reticulans, they speak in chirps and whistles. So, yeah, they do have names for themselves, but it's extremely difficult to try and especially with things like the Pointy Ram. There is no way I can tell you what they call themselves. The names I've been given are the closest thing to a identifier that we can put in English, or at least in a language that you can, in a phonetic form that you can understand.
All right, Keith, let's get to another one here. Let's go to Magnus. Did you hear about any stuff about the plasma portals they found connected to the solar systems?
Oh, ultimately, we are talking about, in Hollywood, they built a show called Stargate. Ultimately, it's the same thing. It's a physical portal. And they work. But what they do is they literally form a gateway. They've got a receiving one on the other end. It literally is a link that transcends space. Okay, doesn't transcend time, but it's like walking through it from one out to the other. I mean, Hollywood did a good job with that movie of showing you special effects. That ain't what it looks like. Okay, best way I can put it, the best way I can describe it is if you've ever been to an automated car wash and the water coming down on the front window, while you're going through it, it's all completely hazy and all of a sudden it's clear again. It's the same idea, or walking through a waterfall. Which, by the way, I strongly recommend you do if you ever get the opportunity.
Keith, let's take the next question from Chucky here. What do you think is the safest way of recovering abduction memory?
That would be self-meditation. In other words, sit down while you're wide awake. You sit down in a comfortable position, and rest assured, I do not personally recommend the lotus position. Primarily because that will dislocate both my knees. But sit down in a comfortable position while you're awake. I strongly recommend having some form of recording device that is handy in case you end up saying anything. But you focus on an event that you remember. For instance, maybe all you remember is waking up sitting on a bench. Okay, sitting on a bench and there's smoke or there's fog all over the place. I've seen this happen dozens of times for people. Well, in all fairness, a lot more than that, but you focus on that one shadow you can see and let yourself literally focus on it until it comes into view. Okay, you run one thought through your mind. That thought at that point is simply clear. Okay, as in clear it up. Bring it, focus. Bring it and bring that concentration on that one item. You may only get vague forms to start with. Probably will. Write them down. As soon as you come out of that memory search, write down even the smallest detail. It's not likely all to come at once. But by writing it down, you'll be able to see a pattern evolving. And of course, there's those of you that are going to say, well, you're just using your imagination to piece it together. Sad to say, when you look at the brass tacks of it, when you look at the world you see that you call reality, it's your imagination that helps you see that. But that's the safest way to do it. I caution people that go, when you talk to somebody that says, oh, I can do a memory recovery for you. I've run into very few people that can actually do that safely without cross-contamination.
All right, Keith, let's move on to the next one. This one comes from Super. Do ETs join each other's sports leagues for interspecies competitions? Would that be like Alien Olympics or something like that?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't call it Alien Olympics. And I forget the name of it offhand, but it is written in Races of the World. There is what amounts to zero-G wall ball. Okay. And it is multiple races. They literally come together, and it is a non-combat game. Bear in mind, most of the aggressive species, you have a real turnover in players. Okay. Primarily because, well, they end up dead. But no, they do have not so much the Olympics as we know them, but there are interstellar groups that will get together, especially tied into the consortium itself. Okay, and of course, once a species becomes a member, they can participate. But I will tell you, the Spirit Knocked In will not be playing any sport with a Strazazian. And here's why. Strazazians are reptilian. Okay, 7.5 to 8.5 feet tall. Armored they grow their own armor. Spirit Knocked In look like a button mushroom. You can see where the disparity in size could be a bit of a problem.
Maybe. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, continuing on Spaced Out Radio. Shogun is asking, Keith, have you ever heard of getting an implant between the knuckles on your hand?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, that's got to be one of the cruelest and most painful places to get it. Although I have heard of others, and we're not going to go into those. But yes, it's rare that you end up with one, or that somebody ends up with one between the knuckles. Okay, but there are species that will do it. Usually, they are short-term implants, and the reason for that is most people will remove them. They're easy to find, but they also dissolve. Most of the time they break down as soon as they hit air. But yeah, if you had one there, I'll tell you, it's a memory you're never going to forget. Probably like to, but it's not one of those things that you really want to feel.
All right. All right, let's move on. Does red plasma exist?
Yes. How's that for a short answer?
It's a beautiful short answer.
The drawback to it, in a sense, is red plasma isn't exactly a thing. It isn't exactly a great big elemental thing. Red plasma itself is a colony entity. Okay, so and what I mean by that is much like you may see an oil slick or you may see a smoke wisp. Okay, they are a species that they are related to they are literally related to the Waylash. Okay, Waylash are essentially air or water elementals. Okay, red plasma is a denser version of it, but they absolutely exist. Fortunately, they're not aggressive.
Well, that's good. That is good. All right, Keith, let's get to another one here. Let's go next to this question. Have you been to other planets? How many? And did you need a spacesuit?
Well, the short answer is yes. I can name a few of them, and did I need a spacesuit on some of them? The Strazazian homeworld, you don't go outside if you're not in a protective outfit. Okay, because I kid you not, in the Strazazian homeworld, it's a desert world, but their sandstorms will shear a human to the bone, like just strip it in under a minute. Now the Strazazians can go outside, but they also grow their own armor. I've also been to the Reticulan homeworld, and that is a world that you just don't want to go outside. You don't have to worry about going outside without a suit. But I will tell you, the plants will eat you faster than the animals will. And I've been to the Sarkon Empire. I haven't been to their world, but it's a long way away from here.
All right, buddy. Let's get to the next one. How long do you think it'll be until humanity is openly and publicly welcomed into the galactic community or consortium?
Conservatively, I'd say 250 years-ish. See, the problem here is before we will get there, humanity has to have, and this is one of the qualifiers of becoming a member of the consortium, humanity has to have a one world government, which is not a dictatorship. Okay, a one world government is essentially the closest comparison on Earth is the UN. Okay, where yes, they've got a speaker that handles the meeting, but where every species, where the dominant species is represented around the world in an equal fashion. Okay, until mankind gets to that point, they're not becoming a member of the consortium. Individuals will end up, like I'm not the only one that goes there. Individuals they will be accepted as connections. They will be introduced. There's no question there. Some of you may well have already done so and just not necessarily realize it. But mankind has a long way to go because we have trouble getting along with our neighbor that's right down the hall. Never mind somebody on the other side of the planet. And that's a societal evolution that every species has had to go through. See, the Mobians evolved from Earth, as did the Anunnaki. Both species evolved on Earth and left the planet. Both species then became members of the consortium.
All right, Keith, let's get to another one.
Sure, fire away.
We got 3 minutes to go. What is the main currency used throughout the universe?
Time.
I'm going to guess. I want to guess on this. Gold?
No. Literally, it's man hours. And I'll use the term man a little loosely. What they do is they go, okay, what does it take the average person and the average individual that knows how to do this and this skill? What does it take them? Okay, how long does it take to make it happen? Okay, once they know that, when you work, you get, and this is in the consortium. Okay, this is interspecies. When you do a job, it gets calculated based on the average time it takes. Now, if it takes the average person an hour to do a specific job, if you can do it in half an hour, you're making better money. Okay. And it literally is done, like the whole buying and selling thing is literally done based on man hours. And yes, the consortium tracks all of that. But in individual species, on individual planets, individual empires, the financial exchange depends entirely on the financier. And again, you have to remember the laws of an individual empire. Okay, the laws of the individual empire must be adhered to regardless of who you are when you're in empire space. When you come into the consortium space, which literally is everywhere in between empires, when you get into consortium space, you follow consortium law. And it's pretty black and pretty black and white on that end.
All right, Keith. Does the galaxy have newspapers or television?
In a manner of speaking, newspapers, no. But do they have updates via what you would call television? For lack of a better way of putting it, the answer is yes. Okay, but they use the same system for passing information on as they do for transporting people physically from one side of the universe to the other.
So there's no cosmic Walter Cronkite out there delivering the news each and every night?
No. Well, on individual planets, certainly, but not from a consortium standpoint.
What about Lloyd Robertson or Harvey Kirk? Or Peter Jennings or Dan Rather?
Well, at least I'm recognizing some of the names you're using.
Oh, man.
So much better, but no, as far as an actual news service per se goes, not from a consortium standpoint.
All right, Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to head to the break at the bottom of the hour. It's never boring, always entertaining when you get the captain of the Woo train taking us down the railway lines to Wooville tonight. That's our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection.
listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Keith. Resist, how you doing? And who else has joined us here? Oh, let's take a look here. Good questions tonight, guys. Good questions. Brooke Michelle, welcome to SOR Chat.
Hey, Dave, I got to ask you.
Uh-huh.
At the Caribou Con, are you going to have coffee cups?
There will be some there. I don't know if there'll be Caribou Con cups. I know you collect coffee cups.
Well, you know, you go through that much coffee, you kind of got to have something to put it in.
Uh-huh. Deborah Rooney, the Sacramento treat. How you doing there, sweetheart? Flat 6, nice to see you. Not wishing the United States of America a happy birthday till we get off the show. And the reason why is it'll be midnight on the West Coast. Then I can say happy birthday. Not because I don't want to during the show, but literally it's because it's not going to be America's birthday. Big 250 in America still looks great. Blackthorn, how you doing this morning? That question. I can tell by Nicole's questions that she's wearing her eyeglasses that have no arms on them. I can just tell. Boob Joe's Maine, you've got aliens. Yes, it's almost Happy Treason's Day. Almost Happy Treason Day. That's right. We didn't run away because it started raining. We ran away because we were bored. There was no competition. I knew you were wearing those glasses. I knew it. Tim Mothman and your goatee, do us all the favor from Spaced Out Radio. Give that goatee a great treasonous tug for us, if you don't mind. 90 seconds, Keith.
I am here.
I know. I see you. How's the sideburns doing?
Oh, they're fine. I actually went and got a haircut the other day, and the hairdresser actually left them. She tidied them up a little, but she left them in place.
Good.
First one in 4 that I've ever had that actually left them alone.
Good job, Tim Mothman. Thank you for that. Thank you to our super chatters, Candice and Mark. I think Candice has a new picture on her Facebook. On her YouTube profile picture. Look different, at least. Candice. All right, 20 seconds. 10 seconds. Here we go. You're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for choosing us, as we love to hang on out and talk with all of you about the weird and strange. Our Keith Andrews, the ET Connection. Hanging on out. Keith, you ready for more questions?
We are ready.
All right. Let's get right to them, buddy. Andromeda is asking, what does it mean to wake up feeling dizzy?
Well, there are so many possibilities to cause that. There is no way I can give you a single answer to that one, aside from it's possible you were put back too quick. It's possible you simply have low blood sugar, or maybe your blood pressure collapsed. Always rule out the physical causes before you start looking off-world. Definitely a move in the right direction on that end.
Tony Ann is asking, can you be abducted inside your house while you are awake?
Technically, the answer is yes. Well, literally, the answer is yes. However, 90% of the time, they won't do it if you got somebody else in the house. Again, there is a standing rule in the consortium that you don't disrupt people's lives. You disrupt them as little as you can get away with. Now, I will tell you, abducting somebody is going to disrupt your life. It doesn't matter how hard they try. It's going to throw you for a loop. And for those of you that, go, I'd really like to be abducted just to have the experience, trust me, this is a bad request. You don't want, I had one person tell me flat out, they ever got the opportunity, they were chasing an Alarian into their own den just to get to meet them. Now, this is just a dense and suicidal approach. Alarians, you would know as a werewolf. Okay. And needless to say, they don't appreciate being disturbed at home. But you can be abducted inside your own home. More often than not, that way, if that's going to happen, number one, it'll happen either as a group and you all get taken, or you'll be on your own. Ultimately, it means if you're on your own, ultimately you're a group of one. But there are very specific guidelines on how they're allowed to do that.
All right.
But the reality is they don't always follow the rules. I can't picture that.
Sandra is asking, have you ever stepped off a ship and fell back to Earth?
Oh, yeah, that was trippy. Do not skydive from that height. I don't think they actually won. Well, I shouldn't say back to Earth. Okay. I have been dropped back into my body. That was trippy. I was actually dropped back into my body one day dropped back in. And this was one of those rare runs that few people get the pleasure of experiencing. I was returned with a prior girlfriend, and I got dropped back into the room. She saw me return, but the genius to put me back missed the bed. I caught part of the bed, and the rest of it hit the floor. Needless to say, she came fully to with a bit of a start. But yes, I have been dropped. It's a wonderful experience. Odd, it is going to sound odd, but if you get dropped from decent orbit without a parachute, at a level you can still breathe, it's a rush and a half. Okay. I do not recommend this, by the way. It is a rush, but it's not one of those things that you really want to get carried away doing.
Makes sense. All right, Keith, let's go to another one. Acuff is asking, what about the Zyklon? I have no idea what that is.
That's a Cylon, I believe, is what they're referring to. If they're talking, if he's referring to a race, yeah, Cylon, by the way, was spelled Cylon, and that is from. Now, what was that? Not Space 1999. Maybe it was. Yeah, the Cylons were out of Space 1999. And yes, now they aren't called Cylon, and I cannot tell you the name offhand. It's either in Volume 2 or maybe I've had to move it into Volume 3. So I cannot tell you what their actual name is at this point. But do they essentially exist? Yes.
All right, Keith, I really do need to ask you to stop banging your table if you don't mind. Because it's coming across really, really loud on this end. So I apologize, but.
Well, it's the first time I've had that problem today, at least that you've mentioned. So
Yes. Jerry is asking, what good and bad do we have to look forward to from Hollow Earth beings?
Well, let me put it this way. The good side is, as you get to meet them, there's a lot of good things you can learn about the planet and how this planet actually operates, as well as how people can put between different species, never mind different races, how you can put the negative side aside and actually work together to build a stable environment. Okay, the bad side, if they ever decide to surface, now bear in mind, the members of Hollow Earth are not members of the consortium. Okay, they've got nothing, they do have their interactions, but they are not members of the consortium at all. Okay, but if they were to go volatile, well, let's just put it this way: the Kaldar, you've heard of sinkholes opening up. Kaldar are what you would call dwarves. They live inside Hollow Earth, and they've got the capacity to drop a city out from underneath you. And I don't mean a little hole. I mean drop a city, if they really desire to. Fortunately, they don't have any desire to. You will see the occasional Kaldar up on the surface. Okay. And yeah, they are what they sound like. They look like our fabled dwarves. Thing you gotta remember with the people from Hollow Earth, most of them retreated there after what they called the Second Age. Okay. It was when we talk about a world war, we're not talking about human species, about human countries fighting. We are talking about animals, plants, and other sentient species in total conflict, including elemental interaction. Okay, this is why when people talk about wars on Earth, the people in Hollow Earth look at it going, that's barely an argument. Now, do not get me wrong. I'm against war to start with. But the people, there is a lot of benefit, a lot of things you can learn from the people of Hollow Earth that are remarkable. Not the least of which is how to actually talk to the plants.
All
and
right.
yeah, I do mean that literally.
Let's move on. Aggravated is asking, if aliens wreck here, where else do they tend to wreck?
Well, if you're referring to wrecking the environment, what we call Mars used to be a forest planet. Okay. Now we are talking going back millennia. There are species that will wreck a planet. But I will warn you, most of the planets of this particular species, the Xylon, okay, the Xenon rather, with them, any planet they have wrecked is no longer in existence. Okay, because they will literally strip it clean. But the reality is, because Earth is protected by the consortium, you don't really have to worry about them getting here. We actually have on Earth a group of aliens that are literally here to protect Earth. Okay, from other species. Those ones being, and yes, they are reptilian by nature. They are not, none of them have replaced any CEO or any government official. Okay, they're not permitted to. Okay, but they are here to help protect in the case of a problem.
All right, let's move on, Keith. Have you ever been to the Sirius constellation, and what does it look like?
That would be where the Alarians are from. And the short answer is yes. That again is it is a forest planet. The nice part there is we are talking about lush forest, a lot, like there is animal life there and plant life. The nice part is the plant life stays where it belongs. Unlike with the reticulans homeworld. But the Sirius planet, the Sirius constellation, has at least 3 planets on it that are completely occupied. Okay, they've colonized the other planets in their solar system.
All right, let's get to another one, Keith. This one coming from Super Crazy. Are there any Earth animals that are actually ET animals?
Well, we'll put it this way. There are some that originally were, but their length of time on Earth, they have adapted to Earth very nicely. Now, there are 2 that I know of right off the top, which would be the octopus and the squid. Sorry, 3. And some of the jellyfish are not originally from around here. The chupacabra is literally not from around here. Ultimately, it boiled down to a rat that got transplanted. Bear in mind, with the chupacabra, it wasn't left here intentionally. It simply got out. Now, there are, if we look at pull a blank on that one. Oh, the Archon. The Archon are here. Okay. Now, whether they are a microscopic organism, and I don't know if humans have found them yet. I do know they're here, but they also evolve and get off the planet. Because an Archon, as it evolves over time, will eventually end up large enough to literally eat planets. They feed on Caborin. A Caborin, by the way, is what you're standing on. Now, every planet is not a Caborin, but every Caborin is a planet or a planetoid. Some are even comets. But when you're looking at what we know as Earth-type animals, those are the ones that are the biggest setup. At least as far as I've uncovered thus far. I really questioned it to start with the platypus. I mean, that seems to be a bit of a... Somebody grabbed the genetic pod and went, hey, what's this had to do? grabs the genetic field and just spins it to see what happens. You know, but no, the platypus evolved here.
Keith, the next question comes from Tony Ann. Can you be abducted inside your house while you're awake? Yeah, we've already had that one. But do they put you back in place as well?
As best they can, yes.
Okay. So if they are doing that, I want to add to this because I'm fascinated by this question. If you're awake, number one, how do they get you? Because they're going to have to knock you out somehow. But number
Actually,
two,
they don't knock you out, they immobilize you.
if you're at your home, and let's say you're babysitting your kids, do they put the kids in a trance too?
If you got, like, it's very rare they'll take you if there's somebody else in the home. More often than not, what they do is they'll take you and the kids, and yeah, they'll knock the kids out. Most of the time. I've seen some where the child was taken and the child maintained total memory. Of course, the parent goes, "That's a wonderful imagination, son," and then writes it off as the kid's imagination. Meanwhile, the kid's going, "But it was real." I personally went through that growing up. You know, and the fact of the matter is, most of the time, they will not take somebody if there's somebody else in the house. And that goes for if you're looking after your kids, don't steal the babysitter. This is just a bad idea.
All right, let's go over to our next question from Paramarv. As we continue on with the ET connection with our Keith Andrews tonight. Have the ETs expressed anything like their prime directive of non-interference from Star Trek? Have they breached that prime directive at times for some reason?
Number one, the consortium absolutely has a prime directive, as it were. They are absolutely forbidden to conquer and to take over a planet. Once you become a member of the consortium, your species is no longer permitted to invade another planet. Period. Doesn't matter whether it's a consortium planet. Earth is not a member of the consortium, but it is protected. Okay, meaning no species can come here and take over. They are completely forbidden to take over positions of power, such as queens, prime ministers, presidents, CEOs. They're absolutely forbidden. Okay, now where it comes to taking over a position of power, well, if they take over and, for instance, become a CEO, that CEO will die a very sudden death and be removed. If a species goes, we're invading this planet, okay, they are summarily removed. But the way that the consortium does that, because when they join the consortium, all species are told, you invade a planet that's already occupied, we are going to terminate your primary, the planet housing your primary, secondary, and tertiary government. We're not going to kill the people, we're going to blow the planet up. Period. This is one of their punishments. The whole idea that reptilians have taken over, for instance, they've replaced the Queen, or they replaced President so-and-so, that comes from 1977 to 1982. Visitor, that comes from V. Okay, wonderful series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Has absolutely nothing to do with reality in the way of takeover. But the punishment is pretty severe. You'll wipe out your civilization, or more to the point, they will.
Keith, we got 4 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. Candace is asking, how does the social ranking system work? Can you tell the difference of the who's who?
That depends. Now, in the consortium, the answer is very simple. Okay, you can absolutely tell who's who, because they do carry a visual, auditory, and olfactory, if you will, badge of office with them. The reason they do that is because not everybody sees in the same spectrum. Okay, in individual planets, individual empires, it depends. Okay, there are a number of different ways, as with our military, a lot of different ways of telling who's which. But in the consortium itself, it's a very clear cut. The nice part about it is, because of the way they do it, it's broadcast all over the place. Once you're in office, by the way, you don't get any of this option of, oh, we're taking a week's vacation. You get elected into office, you're in office 24/7 until the end of your term.
2.5 minutes ago. Let's sneak one more in.
Sure.
Right? That's the third time we had that one. Keith, have you ever seen an Andromeda ship or ships?
The short answer is yes. Now I just gotta remember, I've seen way too many of them. I've actually got it written down, but that's in book 2. But the Andromedan ships are extremely high tech. Okay, when we're talking high tech, we're talking holographic interface. Okay, you've seen it on some movies. The Andromedans literally have that. And by the way, a Terran computer cannot interact with an Andromedan one. They're just not physically capable. But they are extremely high tech. The neat part about them is what humans call, what science fiction movies call replicators, as in bring food out of nowhere. The Andromedans are the ones that perfected it.
All right, buddy. Let's get to one more. We got about a minute to go. What type of alien species would be better for me to mate with? Oh, my, Cosmic Joe. Oh, my.
I'd strongly recommend human. But to put that in the term of alien, pick one from a different country. You get to pick which country. The reality is, the safest one, if you will, would be a Mobian. Mobians were what was living on Earth 50,000 years ago. Okay, they simply have a unified mind. That ultimately is the biggest difference between them. But ultimately, genetically, they are the closest to human. Okay, as far as off-worlders go. The only other one that is really genetically close, well, in all fairness, the Gadefni are okay. The Eniod aren't bad. Okay, Gadefni, you know as the Norse god.
Well, let's hold that thought until we get back. We got our Keith Andrews for one more hour on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Keith, we're going to play a video here. We'll be right back, okay?
Okay, I'm going to take that.
Stop now! You're under arrest! Move!
Don't get caught without your spaced out radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? CaribouCon. Does anyone know what CaribouCon is?
CaribouCon, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now. Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
All right. There's our Keith. I'm Dave. Thank you for joining us. Susan Ahern, good evening to you. Anybody else? Zach? Look at this. This is hilarious and not in a disrespectful way. Keith is awesome. Love it. Love it. Keith is awesome. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you haven't already, because it literally helps with our algorithms on YouTube. We appreciate that. And we're coming back in 20 seconds, Keith. I'm just checking to see if I missed any questions. All right. Let's go like this. And here we go. Hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Macropodine. Macropodine is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hey Swamp Dweller, hope things are going well for you. I was listening to one of your episodes with scary cryptid encounters, and it reminded me of a story that my friend told me. Her husband is a police officer in South Carolina, and this is an encounter that she had quite a few years ago. I will call him Mark for privacy reasons. One night, Mark was working the night shift and got a call that the security alarm had gone off at an old Methodist church in town. Apparently, this happened before, and it was usually a false alarm because no one was ever there. The police chalked it up to faulty wiring since the church was fairly old, but they still had to go check it out for protocol purposes. So, Mark heads out with another officer thinking this is going to be a routine open and shut case. But boy, was he very wrong. This church has 2 levels, and the top level has rooms for the kids' Sunday school services and such like that. Now, Mark turns off the alarm, and he and the second cop start sweeping the place. They don't find anything downstairs, but when they turn to go upstairs, he immediately got a bad feeling in his gut. The other officer actually refused to go upstairs with him because she felt it too scary, and they were actually freaked out. So she stayed at the bottom of the stairs as a lookout while Mark went upstairs. Mark opened the door to one of the Sunday school rooms, swept it with his flashlight across the room, and that's when it happened. He heard a low growl coming from the corner of the room, but when he turned his light toward the sound, there was absolutely nothing there. This room also had something like those fancy electronic books that can sing when you open them, you know, those fancy ones for really little kids that sing nursery rhymes and stuff. Well, as he was standing there, he heard one of those books start to go off by themselves, and it sang this very creepy little song. Again, nobody was there, and the room looked entirely empty. That was enough for Mark. He headed back downstairs and told the other officer they were leaving right then and there. Thankfully, they made it out without any other incident, and he swore never to go back to that church. I actually don't know if the alarm has gone off since then, but my friend told me that before this incident, he had been at that church during the daytime for whatever reason and got a weird vibe from the place during the day too. So, who knows what truly happened to Mark? but I bet you he's never going back to that church, and either am I.
Here we go with our Keith Andrews. But before we bring Keith back on, we want to say thank you to Swamp Dweller for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, go to his YouTube channel, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Swampy has thousands of stories for you each and every night. So go check him on out. It's a lot of fun. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. It's a special episode as we're taking him right to the top of the hour here. Keith, we got so many more questions to ask you from our audience. They've really been awesome tonight, haven't they?
They have been, and there's been some really intriguing questions that have come up.
Well, let's keep those intriguing questions coming. Herb is asking, I often see what looks like slow and fast-moving stars. They look to flare up right overhead and sometimes a few crisscross above me. Who might this be? Are they just saying hello, like doing tricks?
I will tell you the number of possibilities is insane. Okay, but because there is a lot of activity, and if you're seeing stars, what appear to be stars moving back and forth, we can safely say they aren't stars. More often than not, you're probably looking at Zerziks or possibly Vorosic. Okay, these are both light entities. They do not have a ship. Okay, but if you're looking at a standard white light, if you will, more unlike what looks like a normal star, quite often that will be Martokian, might be a maybe reticulum. Okay, but there's a lot of variables there.
What are the power-ups? Why do they do those? Power-ups where the lights get really bright.
That is usually because they've had to kick something in gear due to a complication on the ship. It takes a lot of power to modulate the speed you're going through an atmosphere. You cut through an atmosphere doing the speed these guys can do, they'll tear the atmosphere right off the planet. So a lot of the time what they're doing is they literally are dispersing the photonic energy. The OT drive that most of these ships now use is literally built on shockwave.
I never knew that. Okay, Keith. What do aliens eat and how do they justify stealing our food? Their crimes also a contradiction? If you want to forget abductions and they abduct willy-nilly, that's Galactic Confederacy material?
Cute thought. Number one, let's cover the obvious issue. What do they eat? Staggering amount. Okay, staggering amount of variety. I mean, we are talking about a minimum of 2,500 different species that I'm aware of. Okay, ranging from herbivores to carnivores to plasma ingesters. As for them stealing the food, it's growing. Okay, in their eyes, it is not a question of stealing food because nobody owns it. Okay, yes, humans have this idea. I put the garden in, therefore it's my food. Only off-worlders don't have that concern. Second part of this, where it comes to the abductions and what have you, humans abduct animals by the same definition all the time. Humans collect, the zoologists and the researchers collect without asking the animals. They collect elephants, fish, insects, they experiment on them, they release them back into the wild. This is, by the same definition, abduction. And no human considers asking a tiger if it's okay. So no, it's definitely not a crime, as it were. However, there are stipulations on what they're allowed to deal with. As in, you cannot pick people up in the middle of public, on the whole. Okay, sometimes they have to. Usually it's a question of, don't do it. And like I said, if a protocol is breached, the results are dealt with in a very severe fashion.
Nasty. Nasty. All right, Keith, let's go to another one. Let's go to Blue. Would confirming the existence of plasmoid life be a safe step forward for all humanity to move closer towards establishing a beginning relationship with the offworlders?
Intriguingly enough, I'm going to have to say it wouldn't do much. See, humans have already proven a lot of things, but the rest of the humans won't buy it. Okay, and what the offworlders are waiting for, as far as becoming a solid relationship with the offworlders, mankind's got to come together and form a one world government. This does not mean a dictatorship, which means we don't take one person and put him going, I tell everybody in the world what's going on. That is not a one world government. So the reality of it is this: for humans to confirm the existence of plasmoid life, well, that's kind of like a farmer, an orchardist, having some city dweller prove to the orchardist that apples are a real fruit. The apple grower already knows. Offworlders already know that plasmoid life exists. And I'll guarantee that plasmoid life knows it exists. So it really won't do much towards the closer relationship, per se, because they are way more interested in how you treat each other than they are in whether or not you accept the reality of the other.
Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. Continuing right now, Nikki is asking, what planet is it that its atmosphere or rain is acid or some sort of form acid? Is that Jupiter?
Well, Jupiter is like that. Yeah, Jupiter, if you're talking about our solar system, Jupiter is a very hot little planet. Neptune's another one that's nasty. But what they're probably referring to is the Waylosh's original homeworld. Now, bear in mind, Waylosh exist on many different planets. The Waylosh are what you would consider air or water elementals.
Nikki is asking, like that Nicole is asking, our Keith, we need an update on that 3-legged all-male extraterrestrial homeworld. They're not planning any invasions or abductions, right?
No. Not at all. From that standpoint, especially if you're referring to on Earth, invasion or abductions on Earth. Not that I'm aware of. They certainly are not planning invasion. Because let's face it, invasion has this big problem. You end up with your entire civilization essentially wiped out.
What are the 3-legged creatures again?
Number one, well, the only one I've talked about here isn't all male, but that would be the Vulcan. Yes, I got it corrected the other day on its pronunciation. They are from our solar system, but they're on the planet one step closer to the sun than Mercury is. And they are a crystalline race.
Andromeda is asking, what's the role of the third eye? To see ships or invisible stuff?
It's actually to see energy. As your third eye develops, you'll not only get to see more in the way of the energetic side of life, but you'll also come to understand how to modify your own energy field in order to heal faster. The third eye is a specific organ that literally exists. You know, everybody's got it, just most people shut it off. And we're taught it's your imagination, so ignore it. And sadly, most humans have learned to ignore it very well. But it's a thing that shows you cause and effect of things that don't have a functionally trackable method.
All right, let's continue on. Back to Nicole. As a Catholic Christian, I think this biblical reinterpreting is interesting but incorrect because it disrespects and disregards. Oh, that's the wrong one. Pardon me. We're going to this Nicole one. Our Keith, I know Earth women are considered the most beautiful across the galaxy, but where do Earth men stand on the galactic attractive rankings?
Well, I'm going to have to punch a hole in that theory. Many species find humans to be absolutely appallingly hideous because of a number of reasons. A Weclonicon looks at a human woman and goes, ew. Okay. Or for that matter, at a male. Now, unfortunately, I don't recall the name offhand, but the male counterparts of the Amazonians are, I'll use the term Amazonian, that's not their actual name, but I forget offhand what it is. But that said, the male counterparts are looked at very favorably as a bipedal form goes, but by no means do they rank as the most appealing intergalactically speaking. Quite honestly, the Venusians and the Orions, as well as the Amazonians, and the only reason we call them Amazonians is that's where they were found, on Earth.
All right, Keith, let's get to another one. Let's go to Carrie. Has the U.S. government ever come to you for advice on how to approach different species, or any other government for that world? Probably easier if it was Canadian because you are Canadian.
Oh, I've dealt with different governments, but the reality is they don't come to me from a governmental standpoint well, I shouldn't say that. I had a government official show up looking for me by name about what I know about the different species. And the long and the short of it was that we didn't hit it off very well. You know, the reality is I end up with individuals approaching me, not, I end up with individuals approaching me, not governmental issue. Governments on the whole, politely put, most of them think they know everything going on. And you'll notice the term think. But no, I don't get called in by Terran governments for much of anything.
All right, buddy. Let's rock and roll to the next one. River Dog is asking. Oh, it's a comment. Our Keith Andrews had to clip his pork chops. They're living a happy, well-adjusted lifestyle in a behavior review possessed for future adoption, possibly to a loving home. We love your sideburns, Keith. Let's go to Jay. Have you had any contact with Nordic human ETs, which are now becoming common with UFO disclosure?
Oh, Lord, yeah. They are what they call the Gaddafi. Those are your Norse, Roman, and Greek gods, what people call gods. I've talked to a number of them. Nice people, a little gregarious, bit hard on the alcohol on occasion, but that's them. Nice people on the whole, though. And yes, they have egos to match their muscles. But I've ended up dealing with a number of them, and they're a lot of fun to work with. They're actually not as, yes, they like being called gods. Like I said, they've got this neat illegal thing going on. It goes well. But the Gadefni are often paired up with the Reticulans because, well, Gadefni are not as frightening as a Reticulan is. And often when people are abducted by Reticulans, they get real panicky when they first wake up. Reticulans are not built for combat. They're not built to handle the strength of a panicked human. Gadefni, on the other hand, pretty much says it all. Well, no, Gadefni probably doesn't tell you much. But a Nordic alien probably adds up easy. And here's the neat little thing. When the Nordics got here, when the Gadefni got here, they were not lying. They did say that their home was on Mount Olympus. What they didn't tell people was Mount Olympus wasn't on Earth. So all in all, have I dealt with them? Yeah. I'm running into a couple that are just a riot to be around. And yeah, they've got some different ideas. They do. The one thing that I will tell you, these guys do watch almost religiously, where it comes to watching what's going on Earth, is every time the Olympics come up, these guys are glued to their visit screens. And it's not because of the fact that humans are so spectacular amongst the cosmos, but amongst each other, at least they are working in a field that the Gadefni understand. They're one of these people. They're this group that absolutely.
All right, Keith, let's continue on.
Sure, fire.
Does anything from Star Wars actually exist? Lightsabers, Death Stars, or the Force, etc.?
I would have to say 85-90% of it. Number one, humans are now constructing the predecessor to the lightsaber. Lightsabers exist, absolutely. The Force is alive and well all throughout the cosmos. Okay, and many of the species you see in the Star Wars field are actually based on the real thing. Lucas is one of those few directors I know of that literally have an inside track on what's going on. Roddenberry was another one. And I believe the third one would be Carpenter, and there's a fourth one over in Europe. I don't know what his name is.
All right, Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to our final break of the night. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continue here on Spaced Out Radio, and we're having a great time. We got lots of great questions from our audience members, so let's just keep it on up for one more half hour. Why not? Because the questions are great. Keith's answers are great. His sideburns are great. And I'm having a great time, and I hope you are too. This is Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Peace Out.
All right, buddy. We're clear.
Okay, Doug. I got just a quick comment. I keep seeing that I have an Instagram page. I've never even fired up Instagram. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I can tell you I didn't do it. I've never even opened up Instagram, the front page of it. Never mind got a site running.
For everybody, quickly here, sorry, Keith, for everybody complaining to me tonight about these apparent new YouTube ads that are popping up during the live show and cutting the audio, I will try and figure out. Apparently, there is a way that you can turn them off. I don't know how yet, because I always love it when you type it into Google or some AI search and then it gives you the directions, but the directions don't match up with what they're telling you to do. So I can't really try and do that during the show, but I am aware of it, and I'm kind of pissed off about it. So, but that's just me. That's just me. Nicole, I got your question. You having fun, Keith?
I'm enjoying it in all fairness, and with the number of questions coming in, it's very easy to stay focused.
Good. Good.
I mean, granted, we can pretty much guarantee as soon as we get off air, I'm probably going to pass out, but that's because I'm about 2 hours later than what I usually am.
Well, just do me a favor. We got 30 minutes of, you can bang your desk all you want after you get off the air with me.
Well, I'll do my best to avoid that, I mean.
I'm excited at Caribou Con to watch you track down UFOs with Lee Strauss.
Yeah, quite often the neat part there is it's not what you see, it's what you don't see that is more often than not what you're looking for.
Right?
I like watching the ones they go, oh look, there's a satellite, it's traveling and it pulls a 90-degree turn, and you're like, that was no UFO, that was no satellite. I swear they do that on occasion just to stir people up.
Right? We got 2 minutes. Big thank you to Deborah Rooney, the Sacramento Treat, Candace and Mark. Thank you. J Truth, you can contact anybody you want at Caribou Con. Guaranteed, J Truth Seeker is going to have autographs of all the speakers there. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I finally got back to the idea of teaching myself to write with my left hand again. The stroke completely screwed it up.
We got 1 minute, Keith.
Okay.
Susan Ahern's going to be there. Paramarv's going to be there. Carrie Doyle has got another great question. Have we hit the thumbs up? Firewater by Design, how are you? "20 seconds, Keith."
Yep, we're good.
Here comes final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Let's get right to it. Art Keith Andrews and the ET Connection going on right now. And Keith, thank you so much for being here tonight. We greatly appreciate you coming on in and hanging out with us.
I definitely appreciate the offer, and I'll tell you, the questions from the people have made it way more than worth it, and made it very easy to stay awake. This is way past my normal bedtime at this point. Of course, I usually get up again about this point, but what the heck?
I know, and you're doing great, buddy. All right, Nicole has a question. During his press conference on Capitol Hill, former intelligence officer, a gentleman by the name of David Grush, stated that the government is aware of several non-human species. He described these entities as existing on a continuum ranging from corporeal, bipedal, biological life to sentient plasma or plasmoid energy forms. Keith, the question to you is, can you give us a breakdown of what Grush may be meaning and what is specific and special about these groups?
Well, not knowing what the specific groups are that he's referring to, I can tell you this. Cersosians, they are a 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptilian race. Okay? They are definitively here. I have no doubt the government knows about them. You know, in fairness, a few governments probably know about them. Okay? When we take a look at the Gaddafi, what you know as the Norse gods, okay, or the Nordics, they probably are known. There is undoubtedly some contact with the Mobians, okay, but understand, none of them are passing on technological advancement. Where it comes to the non-corporeals, there is no doubt that some of them are aware of the Holic. Now, Holic are what you would know as a fire elemental. Okay. When you're dealing with plasmoid, you're dealing with a few different possibilities. They may mistake the Korlock as a plasmoid. Korlock do not have a solid physical, well, they've got a solid form, but the Korlock basically look like living silly putty. They are actually they're a non-contiguous form. Okay, but it is possible that they've run into them. I don't know for certain who all this particular government individual has ever dealt with. Okay, for obvious reasons, because frankly they don't talk, and the people don't talk to me much. You know.
All right, let's keep it going, Keith. We've got a lot more for you here. Colin is asking, as a child, I would have an experience between, let me restart this. Hold on. Not reading it very well. Keith, as a child, I would have an experience being in my room or parents' room, and I would be drawn to an image of a scary figure flying on the spot outside the window. Any thoughts on this?
They were making contact. They could have been any number of people. Okay. In all likelihood, depending on what went on after that drawn spot, you may have been dealing simply with watchers. Now, unfortunately, I don't recall their actual name off the top of my head, but my memory for names is not great. This is why I write them down anyway. But you were probably being observed by somebody very curious about what was going on, because at that time your mind would have been wide open to it. Now, what happened as you got older is anybody's guess.
Okay, Keith, let's move on. What exactly is going on up on the moon with ETs? Who is up there, and since when?
Well, we'll start with what's going on at the way station. anybody coming in that wants to get a close impact, a close connection with Earth, has to check in on the moon. Okay, now it is fully active, and who is there? Well, that's as wide an array as we can get. What they're up there for is simple. It's a way station to get to observe the way that the socioeconomic evolution of the human race is happening. It's also a way station for other races to come in, do a collection, as in do an abduction, maybe a number of them, do their research, put the people back and carry on. Okay, somebody a long time ago likened Earth to a petri dish. It's not a petri dish, but it is, if you will, the local area's biggest terrarium available. But that's what's going on up there. How long has it been there? Since pretty much Earth was built. When Earth was put together in the first place, the moon was put in place in order to keep it wasn't built at the same time. It was built many millennia later to stabilize Earth's orbit and to stabilize the atmosphere on the planet. And yeah, it was very much a deliberate choice. And before somebody jumps on that, no, not by what you would consider traditional aliens. Okay, closer to what you would consider, traditionally speaking, the gods. Now let's understand, a god, okay, when you talk to the off-worlders, is simply somebody evolved beyond what you're capable of comprehending. It's as simple as that. If a human were to be dropped into the Congolesian jungle with a Bic lighter, okay, and without showing the Congolesians the lighter, were to produce fire in the palm of their hand, the Congolesians would see that as a god. Okay, but the goings on the moon have been going on since before human civilization started to evolve at all. In all fairness, before the Mobian civilization did.
All right, Keith, let's continue. Do the ETs of the off-worlds have paranormal and hauntings as well?
Try that again. Oh.
Do the ETs...
Oh, Lord, yeah. Absolutely. You see, whether you are an off-worlder or a human, okay, all of you, you're going to love this one, all of you end up in the same place when you pass away. When your corporeal body dies, all of you end up in the same place. Okay? And this is why some of you remember a lifetime as an alien. Some of you were. But I'm telling you, even those of you that remember your alien life better than what you're dealing with this one, you're still in a human body this lifetime, in all likelihood. But yeah, they absolutely have hauntings. They've got spirits they deal with. They've got their own beliefs and their own fears, if you will. And yeah, they all have their own religions, some of which can be compared to Earth, to Earth scenarios.
Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection, continuing here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to Cosmic Joe. All right, that's a personal question. We won't ask that. No offense, Joe. You can hit him up on Facebook for that one. Super Crazy is asking, did ETs create humanity? And if yes, do they or do they not want us all to know about the details?
Okay. Number one, not exactly. It was actually an ancient race that, now, before we get into the religious connotations, it was actually an ancient race that dealt with it. Some of you would call them gods. I learned to call them elfin. Okay. But there's a whole long story behind that. Okay. They don't, and number one, and number two is as far as the off-worlders go, they don't have a problem with humans getting to know all of what's going on. But humans have to figure it out of their own accord. It's got to be done that way, because if it just gets dropped in your lap, your entire culture buckles. We know this because we've done it in the past. Okay, and made the mistake of going, hey, we're here, and watched a civilization literally immolate. Like, it absolutely turned inside out. When humans get to the point where they can look at the stars and go, that's real, and it's not some sort of a demonic invasion, when humans can have evolved spiritually speaking and intellectually speaking to the point where they can deal with that on their own, this is what the consortium is waiting for. Okay, that's part of the evolution of a one world government. What we have to realize is every one of the species out there has gone through this same civilization, evolution, at some point in their own path.
All right, up next, let's go to Super Crazy. Are there any fictional ETs on TV or in movies that are extremely similar to real ETs?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we can start with the obvious issue. Predator, based on the Modocs. We take a look at the creatures from, let's go with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You've got both the Reticulans and the Reticulan D. Absolutely spot on rendition. Okay, when you take a look on Arrival, the Udina. Okay, the one thing they did different with the Udina, and that had to do with Earth technology. They've got the Udina writing in a two-dimensional fashion using ink. They don't write in two-dimensional fashion, they write in three. Okay. When you take a look at the little guy the little imp off of Harry Potter, okay, that is a Berondi. Okay, and these are all varying things. There was also, forget the name of the movie. Ow. There was an alien movie, forget what it was called now, but that showed a Tormodon absolutely brilliantly. Oh, Jupiter Rising, I believe it was called. Where it showed the winged reptilian. That's a Tormodon. Beautiful rendition.
Ready for another one?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. What is one food that aliens eat?
Boy. Depends on which one you talk to. Many are carnivorous, meaning they'll eat pretty much any meat that's there. Most of the reptilians want it moving, but what the heck. If you take a look at the Archon, they eat Kaborans. Kaborans are planets. Okay. When you take a look at the Holic will eat anything flammable. And of course, then we get the Aurora and the Aurora, both of which will eat pretty much anything. Well, depending on the specific race, will eat anything that is action. Okay, you talk to the Kaldor, as long as it's fermented, they're happy. If it's not fermented, this is not something to give them, because they will be unhappy. And rest assured, you don't want a Kaldor, what you know as a dwarf. You don't want them unhappy.
Just don't want them unhappy, Keith. You don't want them that way. Go to Carrie. Do other species keep the truth hidden, like technologies, the existence of other life forms from their population, like humans do?
The short answer is absolutely. But not a single member of the consortium does that. But the ones that are only on the edge just coming in, absolutely. And even every member of the consortium in their early years, in their early civilizations, absolutely did exactly what humans are doing now. Okay. They absolutely denied the existence of off-worlders. They absolutely went, no, this technology doesn't exist. You can't have it, that sort of thing. And they quite often attributed a lot of their events to other things, just like humans do. And yes, that goes right down that religious rabbit hole. And no, I'm not getting into that one.
I like that question.
Oh, yeah, I do. So do I.
Think about that.
You notice we've had a lot of questions that haven't been asked before tonight?
Yeah, it is very nice. It's very nice indeed. We got 4.5 minutes, Keith. Let's go to River Dog. So the plasma orbs are not earthly nor human technology.
Correct.
Explain the plasma orbs again for people who might be tuning in late.
Think of something, basically a plasma orb, or the plasmoids as some people call them, are a solid, they are literally a solid form of energy. Semi-solid, they're totally mutable. When you take a look at the core lock, okay, the core lock do not have a solid form. They also don't have a skeletal form. Okay, but they are an evolutionary process somewhere between pure energy and solid matter. Okay, on the evolutionary scale. They just got to that half point and quit evolving on the physical level and simply adapted their life around it. Okay, so they're not going to register necessarily as a life form. But then in all fairness, people will try, people have been studying tornadoes of fire for centuries and never identified either one of them as life form.
All right, Keith, I think we got time for one more question. Are there, we already asked that one. Yeah. Let me just check our chat room here. See if we have any more in here. And here we go. Susan is asking, how often are you contacted? And does it ever get quiet?
I usually have contact. Now, this does not mean I necessarily get taken every week anymore. But I usually get contacted a minimum of 2 to 3 times a week. And yes, it does get quiet. Every time I drop dead, they give me a few months to get my body working again. And I know that sounds twisted. But in my case, that's been 11 times this lifetime.
Keith, what is your opinion of Chris Bledsoe and his experiences with the lady? The lady is apparently a religious deity that comes to him.
To be honest with you, much as I've talked to her, as I met Chris a decade ago, I've never actually heard, I haven't been following what he's been up to, so I don't know who the lady entity is he's referring to.
She's quite biblical, according to him. Many people have tried to equate it, whether or not they're right or not, almost like the Virgin Mary at times, but I don't think that's who she is.
Well, given my knowledges, I won't argue with what they're trying to equate her to. But something I do have to point out, no matter where you go in history, there was only ever one person that held the position, the corporeal position of the Virgin Mary. There was only one person that ever held the corporeal position of any person in history. Now, I've met 4 people that have claimed they were King Henry VIII. It's a cute thought. None of them were, but it is a cute thought. So I don't know specifically where it comes to Chris as to whether or not, as to who this lady is. Okay, because I literally have never looked into it.
Well, it's an interesting story nonetheless. Our Keith Andrews, 25 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Easiest place to get a hold of me, if you go to buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej, you'll find every way to get a hold of me. You can also find me on Facebook at R. Keith Andrews and on YouTube. Okay, I'm not that hard to track down. I'm pretty certain that if you reach out, anybody that does know me, I'll tell you right now, pass my number along. It's not like I'm going to ignore you.
And if you're in the Kelowna area, make sure you look for the best sideburns in your city. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection that happens each and every month here on Spaced Out Radio, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Keithy boy. Let me just unmute you here. Good job, buddy.
Thank you very much. Hard to believe it's been a decade. You know that?
No. Let's see here. No. No. All right. Get that. Cut that. Put that in there. Go from there. Well, you get to go to bed now, Keith.
Yep, and that I am definitely going to do.
Good for you. Good for you.
Hopefully you get to go to bed soon.
In about 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, what I do. Is what I do, my friend.
Well, very good show. Like I said, a lot of questions that were, that we're in, that came in, that I haven't seen.
Yeah, the audience was fantastic tonight. They were. Give yourselves a round of applause, audience. Good job tonight. Seriously. Be proud. Be loud, be proud, and have a Pepsi. That's it. Just a Pepsi. Not asking for the world. Just a Pepsi.
Sorry, Coke's my stock in trade, and I've had to cut back on that a long way.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But I am thinking a lot more clearly now.
I hear you there, too. I got to drink a little bit more water these days. I don't mind drinking water. I kind of like water, but, every now and again, you just want to have a Pepsi or a Coke.
Yeah, I personally find that Pepsi is too sweet.
I find Coke too bland.
Well, there you go. That we explain both sides of it.
Yeah.
Sadly, when I was younger, I found the easiest way to spice up Coke was add rye.
Right? See if this works. Gotta see if this works, Keith. I'll be happy if it does.
If which does? Oh, you're trying to kill off
Right
that
there.
stuff.
Right there. There's the business right there. Damn it, it worked. That was nice. That was nice. All right, buddy, we'll let you go.
Okay.
Safe night. Have a great weekend. To our American listeners, happy 4th of July. God bless America. God bless loud cars, military aircraft, some great food, and even more better people that are out there. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you to our super chatters, Mark, Candace, Debaruni, and Cowlin. Appreciate you guys. And I will be back on Monday with another 5 guests and a major announcement next week for Spaced Out Radio. Yes, Spaced Out Radio. And it's going to be a good-looking, very good-looking announcement. So good-looking. We've never had such a good-looking announcement before. But it's going to be good. Thank you, guys. You have a great night, and we will see you next week. Don't forget to leave a comment after the show. Let me know what you think. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.